Hi, everyone. It's Betty Ray again with Raphael. And today we're going to talk about our life's purpose. Now, everybody asks us that, Raphael and I, what am I here for? What's my purpose? And I thought that would be a good topic for today because everybody is curious about if they're following God's will, if this is why they're supposed to be here, and why do they have the experiences they have? Are they being punished? There's so many different questions that people ask me about things that happen in a person's life, and they want to know why. So we thought we'd spend this time with you and talk about a soul's purpose for being here. And in the new book that Raphael and I have put together, Questions and Answers, you'll find this also in there. And Raphael talks about the fact that your life's purpose changes throughout your life because, for example, at my age of 86, my life's purpose is a whole lot different than 46 because back then I was raising 4 children. And that life purpose was in that moment in time. So people say, well, what did I come here for? Why am I here? And first and foremost, Raphael says that God created you and all of us sentient beings to come here to planet Earth and explore it and learn about it and learn about ourselves and God. So your purpose is to discover who you are first and foremost. And to do that, you need to look at your talents and you've got talents that you probably haven't even discovered yet. I know that happened in my older age. I discovered that I could do some artwork, which I didn't do before. I trained to be a music teacher. I taught vocal music in grades kindergarten through high school. And I also had adult choirs. So that happened to be what my one of my purposes were. And I started taking piano lessons in the 6th grade. Never became a really good pianist, but I used it for my career as a music teacher. Now that just was just part of what my life is. But now my life is to be a messenger for the Archangel Raphael. So time changes what your purpose is. And when you are a young person, you are gearing up for a career or for at least a job in the future. So you're studying, you're going to school, you're taking classes. If you're going to go on to college, that is what you are being inspired to do. And that's the only way you really figure out what your life purpose is, by discovery. And so we suggest that, as I did when I was teaching 8th grade English, I had the kids go to the library and look at I can't even think of the name right now. Um, it was a occupational handbook. That was what it was. Occupational handbook. And you can go through it and it will tell you what the occupation is all about, what kind of training or college degree you need, and how much you'll make as a beginning salary. So I haven't been to the library to look at it in a very long time. I hope it's still out there because it was very helpful for my 8th grade language arts students. When they went to the library, they discovered with this book that what they thought they wanted to do, they didn't want to do. So even in junior high, 8th grade, it wasn't too soon for them to begin looking at what their life purpose is. They didn't look at it that way, but that's how everybody does. And even whatever age you're in now, you want to know, well, why am I here? Why am I still here? Is what I ask God. I'm 86. Why am I still here? What am I supposed to be doing? And I laugh because obviously I'm talking to you right now. For those of you that have come to listen, and maybe I'm talking all by myself, but that's okay too. And so my purpose in this point in time of my life is to be a channel for an archangel. And of course, that was not something I planned on when I was in high school and college. I had no clue as to what even channeling meant. And so your life purpose changes. But let's just go through my list. We have talked previously about you have a soul, and your soul has a vibrational energy, and that is also a color. Energy is vibration, color, and sound, those three things. And so your soul vibrates at a particular frequency, and that in itself tells what your life purpose is. For example, a soul that is much into leadership and into being in power and in control might be a red soul because that's their purpose. So they're driven to be in charge and in control. And beginner souls will be tyrants. Older souls will be benevolent leaders. So this are two things you have to keep in mind, that first of all, you do have a soul that never changes colors from the time you were born. And secondly, you have a personality as a human being. Those two things combined will set upon your life purpose for this particular lifetime. Remember, you have many, many lifetimes. And that's sometimes scary for people to understand, and they don't even want to look at it. So they kind of cancel that out. But it's true. And it's because every lifetime your soul has a story to tell, and it will choose the characters that it wants to play in its stage play on planet Earth. So every lifetime, you will be doing something different to explore the planet and to explore what it's like to be a human being on a planet. So your life purpose throughout the life will change. For example, when I was a child, my life purpose was to be a child, to be able to play and to be happy. And I was lucky in that. I was raised by an aunt and uncle rather than my parents, my birth parents, who were alcoholics. So I was rescued from that. So my life purpose was not to suffer through alcoholism in that manner. But I still knew my parents, visited them. It was my mother's brother that I went to live with. So that's part of my life purpose, was to come into the planet, I say, to get the DNA from my parents, who were both very intellectual people. My mother was an RN, and my father was just very brilliant. He never did figure out what his life purpose was, except to be an alcoholic. And so I gathered from them my life purpose is part of the DNA that I took from them. And so obviously part of it is longevity, although neither one of them lived that long. But again, genes are part of your reason for being an old person and living that long. And so that must have been the things that my council of elders chose for me in my DNA to have me come to this planet. I didn't know that I would end up being a teacher of metaphysics, of spiritual ideas, and a channel for an archangel. I would never have occurred to me as I was growing up. I was a very spiritual person all my life, and I was a faithful churchgoer. And again, I had choirs and I taught music. And so my life purpose constantly changed, especially after I got married and had one, two, three sons, one right after the other, and then waited 6 years and had a daughter. So my life purpose was to be a teacher, was to be a wife, was to be a mother, and now in my old age to be a channel for the archangel. So your life purpose changes, and it changes as you are inspired by God. But let's look at how your soul will determine your life purpose. And so if you are a red soul, a vibrating red soul, you will be mostly interested in leadership. That's your life purpose, to discover how to be a good leader. Now, we can almost imagine when we think about our leaders, particularly past, president, and present president, that's a tongue dangler. That is, you can see an entirely different life purpose for each of these men. And so that is one thing that red souls have to learn to do, how to be a good leader. And I think we've had an example of good and bad. And so I don't need to elaborate on that any longer, but that's the idea. Red souls, their purpose is learning how to be a leader without being a tyrant, without being a bully, without being a narcissist, and all of those things, but instead being somebody who is leading for the good of all the people. And so we also want to look at the next soul color, which is the orange soul, vibrating to the orange energy, which is a rare, there are very few orange souls on the planet because they are the avatars. They only come some like Jesus only every 1,000 years. Someone every 1,000 years, a new avatar will come. And so we have among us probably another avatar and don't even know it. But those benevolent leaders, those spiritual leaders, are what I call avatars, and they are learning how to lead their flock into spiritual growth, into an understanding of God. No matter what religion they may present, they are still raising the consciousness of people out of fear and anxiety and into the joy of praising God and being there for other people. So then we go to the yellow soul. Now, I just happened to have a friend here yesterday who is a yellow soul, but he is on a spiritual journey now to discover everything he can about God and traditions and religions. And so he has a very wide searching. He goes to different retreats, he listens to different leaders. He is very much into discovering his soul. But other yellow souls would be interested in discovering life on the planet. They might become a chemist or a scientist and work in the laboratory, as my youngest son, who is a molecular genetic scientist. So he is a yellow soul. And then we have the green soul. There are more green and red souls on the planet than any other color, and they balance one another. They look Christmassy, yes. They balance one another because the green soul, his purpose is to be of service to others. And their catch 22 is that they end up being in servitude to others who depend on them for things they should be learning to do themselves. So you have to be careful if you're a green soul and you want to help somebody. You want to tell them that this is a better way to do it. You know, you're going in the wrong direction. You really need to listen to me. That's the catch 22 for green souls because they can see how a person can be getting into trouble and they want to rush in and help, but it's not their job to do that. And so they have to be careful, as I say, not jump up on another person's stage and try to redirect their play. They have their soul directing the play, and they have a guardian angel that works to bring into that stage new characters and new ideas. So it's not for you to interfere unless you're asked. And then you know, in that moment, you will know exactly what it is you are to say to them. But if you find yourself scripting, and that means that you think about a friend and they're doing this or doing that, and you're saying, I really should tell them to do it this way. Then you are trampling on other people's stage and you are not invited. When you think of another person, if you're a green soul, wrap them in angel wings with your imagination. Imagine that they are being inspired by angels and that love energy that you send to them will raise them out of fear and anxiety, and they will hear their angels speak to them. That's how you can help them. But you have to do it with your imagination and your mind. And that's something that green souls are doers. So they're the people that are the secretaries, they're the chefs, they're the housekeepers, the bookkeepers, they're the nurses and doctors and paramedics. Those are all the people that would be a green soul. And so the next color soul is the blue soul. This is a light blue, sky blue kind of. And these souls are creative. They bring abstract ideas into the physical reality. And I tend to be more a blue soul than any other color. So I figured that's what I am. And that's because, as you can see about this beautiful, I want to say mosaic, but it's a stained glass. That was something I had an artist do. I didn't do, but I do a lot of artistic work. And that's what I wanted to show you today. Some of my artwork that I've been inspired to do. And so I'm going to take, now this might be difficult to do because this is heavy and it's big. So I'm going to try and turn it so you can see it. This is a mosaic that I did about my husband, Joe, who was an industrial pipe fitter. You see the light bulb on the top of his head? That was symbolic of his intellect. He was very, very smart. And those medals, he was a Navy SEAL in the last war. And you see also that he had his pipes here, his wrenches, as you call it. This was his belt buckle. These were all, other belt buckles that he had, and he was a square dancer. And so I had him marching off to work, and I'm bringing it up higher so you can see how he's just walking off to work. This was an inspiration that I had, and I created after Joe began to show dementia and ended up in a nursing home. And I took it to the nursing home and showed it to him. And I said, it has a ruby heart. And he said, and he never spoke, but he said, it has a ruby heart. And he loved rubies, which is why I put it there. But it has a little angel on top of it. I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can. And I said, and that's me. I'm your little angel there. So this was very symbolic, and it's still a great memento to my dear departed husband. So I'll put that down. Okay, here we go. It's very heavy. And I will show you another creative idea that all of you can do. Now, this is made of plywood, and it's a very thin plywood, and I painted it with kills, which is to protect the wood and to keep it from bleeding through. And then I painted it navy blue, and then I put all old jewelry on it. Any old jewelry that I wasn't using. For example, these two angels here are angels with music, and people so often call me an angel, so I put some of those there. There are the chakras, the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue, and the indigo, and I put the crystal up here for the violet. So I'm putting symbolism on here. Plus, here is my sorority pin. Here is a brooch that was my mother's. And what were some other things? Oh, this was given to me by my husband. This was my mother's brooch and my birth mother's brooch. This was my adopted mother's brooch. This is the little hook here that I use in hooking rugs. And I love dolphin, so I put that on there. And the rest are just buttons that I picked up, and I put the mirrors around it. So this is something you can do, and it's a wonderful memento for your children. My daughter says, but Mom, you've got to, tell us what each of the things are, because I'll never remember. So I do have to write it out and put it on the back, which, as you can see, I haven't done yet. So these are a couple of the ideas that you can be inspired to do. And even if you're not a blue soul, which the purpose of the blue souls is to take abstract ideas and bring them into the physical reality, either through word of mouth or, as I've done here, through visuals. Now, again, the stained glass was a part of a backdrop that I had when I was going to whole life expos and promoting my first book that I put out there and giving readings. And it made of felt and cloth, and it was Velcroed to a big navy blue backdrop. I had two of them. So after those days were gone, I took one of them off from the backdrop and took it to a stained glass person, and they made that beautiful stained glass for me. So these are creative ideas. Granted, my husband, Joe, made the suggestion. He said, why don't you make a stained glass to hang in the window that was there where we could hang it? And so we did. And that's been a wonderful gift as well. You are constantly being inspired to create. You create in your own way. You are a problem solver. That's a way to create. But the way to get to your creative self is to let go of self-criticism. This is the biggest thing that can block you from receiving messages from your angels and guides. Is that who, me? I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. You just got to get that out of your head because believe it or not, what you think you can't do, you can. And you will be inspired if that is what it is for you to do, step by step by step, how to get there. So when you run into a brick wall, you don't want to bruise your nose, you just back off and you say, okay, God, I follow that idea as far as it can go. Tell me where to go next. And then you just let it go. You don't stew over it. You don't stress over it. You just let it go. And that's kind of been the story of Raphael's book that I've been trying to get out. When there was so much negativity on the planet with what was going on in politics, I had so many interruptions, so many things, glitches that would be in the computer or that was just wasn't working. And I knew it was the dark energy that was permeating the entire planet and that it was also causing interference because dark energy does not want light. It doesn't want to be exposed. And dark energy is on the planet. It's part of the polarities of the planet. You have dark and light, you have up and down, you have hot and cold. Those are the extremes. And so this is something we all have to contend with. And so when people say Mercury has gone retrograde, now I know nothing about astrology, but I know about Mercury because as a teacher, I knew when communication broke down, it seemed like no matter how clear I thought I was in my teaching, people just didn't get it. And this is when your communication in your computer will break down. This is sometimes because of the energy coming from that particular fixation of Mercury retrograde. And it looks like the star is going backwards, but it isn't. It's just the way it's shown. But when it does, it brings out negative energy from that particular formation of the planets. And anybody that is a teacher or that is into working with people will know when Mercury has gone retrograde. You will say something, somebody will interpret it differently and come back at you and said, well, you said this and so, and it's not what you meant at all. You'll know that it could have been those planets that were getting in the way of communication. So you have to realize that you are on the planet Earth and you have to deal with those dark and light energies that are constantly just sort of coming and going. They're like flowing with the wind. And some days will be great and other days will be, oh my God, I've been in a fog all day. And it's like you don't have any energy for anything. And it doesn't mean that your life purpose has changed. It just means for that day, you are to do nothing until you're inspired and the way is clear again. This is where we think we're in charge and we're not. There's so many elements of being a human being on planet Earth that there's no way you can be in charge. And again, one of the things about Mercury retrograde is miscommunication. And a quick example is I had a friend got very angry with me for not showing up at the restaurant when we had agreed to meet. And when we finally connected, because this was before we had cell phones, when we finally connected, we found out we were both in a different restaurant. We had somehow miscommunicated. And I said this restaurant, she said that restaurant, and here we sat waiting for the other person. And she got annoyed. I just got amused and figured something came up and she just wasn't able to get a hold of me. Now, with today, when you have a cell phone, that kind of miscommunication wouldn't happen for long. You would be called and saying, where the heck are you? I've been waiting here at Applebee's. And I would say, oh my gosh, I'm over here at whatever place. And finally you would laugh about it and you would decide which restaurant you would finally meet. But back in the day, before we had cell phones, I did have that miscommunication. The problem was my friend couldn't forgive me for not knowing what right restaurant. It was as though I had deliberately caused her harm when no intent in mind was to do any harm. And that's something else that you need to know. Your purpose is to be honest and have integrity. But sometimes miscommunication comes when Mercury does his little dance. And sometimes without any intent of your own to cause harm, you end up having a miscommunication. Now, if somebody wants to get angry with you about it, you just have to let them be because they're looking for a reason to be angry. And you can't stop that emotional barrage that can come. All you can do is calmly explain the situation and say you're sorry that it happened. You apologize, although you never had any intent to be in the wrong restaurant at the wrong time. So sometimes people look for an excuse to be angry. And if that's a person that's doing that to you, you need to just back away and not say anything more. And either they will calm down and come back to you again, or they will disappear out of your life. And so your purpose in that relationship was to be kind, was to be truthful, was to follow your heart and give love. And if you didn't get that back and instead you got arguments, then it is not for you to have that person in your life any longer. And that's when we have to learn to let go. Because you see, every soul on the planet is gaining knowledge. And the more knowledge that you gain, the more wisdom that you have. And the more wisdom that you have, the more at peace you will become. So when you have a miscommunication and you try to soothe it over and say, look, I just got mixed up on the restaurant and they don't want to give in, they don't want to stop being angry with you, then you just back off. Now, I have to say that when I made public which president I was voting for, I lost a friend. She said, how can you say that about my beloved president? And I kind of backed away thinking, how have you got blinders on that you aren't aware that that beloved president is really messed up? That's the only way I can say it. And so that politics can divide people because they won't let go of their blind following of a leader that they believe is perfect. And again, that shows their soul advancement. So your purpose, going back. So the red soul, its purpose is learning leadership in a benevolent way without being a tyrant. An orange soul is to learn to be a leader of spirit and to be always above and beyond criticism and derogatory means or power plays. They're not doing that at all. Now, a yellow soul, we said, is searching for knowledge. They will want to read everything they can about a certain subject so they understand it, or they'll want to watch television and figure out what's going on. They are interested in spiritual life and they will study every religion that they can. Those are yellow souls. Then you have the blue soul, and those are like me that want to create and bring ideas into the physical world. Then you have the indigo soul, which is a deep bluish purple. And these are very, very bright intellectual souls. Usually they're loners and they are very creative. They're problem solvers. In fact, they can get very impatient with people that don't take their advice when it's obvious as the nose on your face, quote and unquote, that this is what they need to do to get back on track, whereas they created this problem and blah, blah, blah. That can be a young indigo soul wanting to take charge of another person's life and telling them how to live it. But that's different than a green soul. A green soul wants to save you from yourself. An indigo soul wants to lead you to where it thinks you should go. That's for young souls. Older souls are wonderful creators of problem solving. They have amazing minds, and their vibration of their soul is vibrating so fast that they can be intimidating to other people who see them as an intellectual and just kind of back off because they don't know how to deal with that. So indigo souls are curious. They're always wanting to know more. They're always wanting to create new and inventive ideas. Now, a violet soul or purple soul is vibrating the fastest of all of the soul colors. And that kind of makes them elevate up here into the others as they try to figure out what is God and who is God and what are angels. They want to know about extraterrestrials. They want to know about anything that is beyond the physical. And so that's their purpose. When you look at what soul color you are, you will begin to understand how your purpose is to follow your soul story for the life. to trust that the ideas that you're given are uniquely given to you. And that's really important. So, we're going to wrap this up by saying that your purpose in life can change as you grow through your stages of development. Your soul begins as a baby, and your purpose in life right then is to figure out what kind of a world you're in and who are those people around you. Up to right now, when you're trying to discover whatever it is you're curious about, when you're trying to discover God and you come to us, we hope we are a channel that can help you. And we hope that you will tell others to listen in, to subscribe, and to come to our channel and let us know that you're here, because we have this live chat every Thursday at 11 o'clock. And on Tuesday, we have a live radio show. You have to tune in to W4WN Radio TV Live Talk and tune in to Ask Raphael. Now, we're on iHeartRadio as well and Pandora, and so you can catch our broadcast there. So we have two times, Tuesday at noon and Thursday at 11 o'clock, that we come live where you can ask questions. And if you have any questions of us that you don't catch, you can email us at angelbettyray@gmail.com and ask your question, and we will help you through the Archangel to answer all your questions. And thank you for listening today. Thank you for coming to our channel. Even if you didn't hear about it until later, know that every Thursday at 11 o'clock, we will try to be here live to answer your questions and to help you to be happy, because that is your purpose. Learn to be happy. And that's how we'll end this. This is today's story of how to follow the divine purpose for your life. And first and foremost, God wants you to be happy. And to do that, it doesn't mean that you indulge yourself in all the sweets and gain 20 pounds. It doesn't mean that. It means that you listen to the divine inspiration to bring you to creating a mosaic of your husband or a mosaic of your jewelry that you no longer use but have a story to tell. There's so many different things that you will be inspired to do when you open your mind to it, when you ask your angels to inspire you of something new and different that you can do while you're in lockdown until this virus is under control. And speaking of the virus, we ask you to please wear a mask when you go out, to be safe, wash your hands, and take care of yourself, because we love you. Raphael and I are here to give you God's unconditional love and to tell you, love yourself as well by taking care of yourself. God bless you. See you next time. Bye for now.